Hello, my name is Allison Forrest, and I'm a student at the University of Houston, Victoria, where I'm getting my bachelor's degree in computer science and mathematics. Today I'll be talking about the Workplace Management mobile application, which is my senior year project for my computer science degree. Kind of an overview of what I'll be talking about today. First, I'm going to go into an introduction and talk about what is the WMMA and what are its main goals and ideas. Then I'll go into a database synopsis where I'll talk about the basic structure of the database and how users are tracked. Then we'll go into a small demo for the WMMA. And finally, I'll talk about my takeaways from the project. Right? So for the introduction, we're asking the question, what is WMMA? And WMMA stands for the Workplace Management Mobile Application. This is a mobile application that I've designed that ties together different aspects of workplace management to create an easy-to-use and accessible tool. So some of the key ideas are boosting communication by providing chat features for employees to communicate with each other, making information accessible both to managers and employees, and then merging several tools into one app so that managers can easily access them. Some of the main features are going to be payroll views, both for managers and employees, scheduling tools for managers, messaging capabilities, shift trading options, and availability adjustments. And all of these goals and features are designed to help, again, boost communication and make information accessible so that employees and managers can do their jobs better in the workplace. So now we're going to go over the database structure and address how users are tracked in the system. So this is the database schema, and we're going to start off with this businesses table right here. So each business in the system is tracked by a unique business ID. And branching off from this table to the left is our business hours. This tracks the operating hours for every business based on a day of the week and the open time and close time. And it's going to help managers schedule employees within the operating hours. Branching off from the businesses table is the users table, and this tracks every employee and manager in the system by their unique user ID, which is going to be different from their employee ID, which is given to them by the business. Branching off from the users table, we have 4 tables here. The first one of which is the time away requests. Each time away request is tracked by a request ID and the user who requested it, and it does have to be approved by a manager. Next, we have the availabilities table, and this just tracks the availabilities for each employee based on the day of the week, a start time and an end time for each day. We have the earnings table here, which tracks each earning for every pay period week. And it's based on the amount of shifts each employee has per week. Finally, we have the shifts table here, which tracks shifts by user based on the day, the start time, and the end time. We have our next 3 tables branching off here to the left from the users table. The most important of which is going to be the chats table here. It tracks each chat that the user is a part of by a unique chat ID. And then we will have our chat users table here, and this tracks the chat that each user is a recipient of. Finally, every chat has a array of chat messages that are tracked based on the sender and then the chat ID. So overall, the core of this schema is going to be the businesses and users tables. So now we're going to jump into the WMMA demo and kind of demonstrate how the app works and what goes on behind the scenes. So first we're going to talk about registration. Registration is going to be different for a manager versus an employee. So managers, when they register in the system, they are going to enter their own information as well as the business's information so that the business can also be registered. So after the business has been registered with the manager registration, other employees may register as well. For an employee, they'll be giving much of the same information. However, they are just registering themselves. and they do have to register under an existing business. So after they register, they also must wait for their manager to verify the information in their account and approve the account before the system does let them log in. So now using my Android emulator, we're going to go in and register a manager as well as a business. So first we'll click register from the login screen. We'll then select manager registration. Our business name will be store. The manager's first name will be first. And we'll skip the last name for now. We'll say the employee ID is 12, which again, it's given by the business. We'll set the password to the ID 12. And for this first example, we're going to show what will happen if you don't fill in all the fields. So it then asks you to please fill in all the fields. And we'll just set the manager last name to last. All right, and then we will register. So the manager's account is now in the system and has been auto-approved so that they may now log in and begin managing their employees. After a user's account has been approved, they can go to login, and login only requires the business name, their employee ID, which is again given by the business, and their password. So over here to the left, we do have the PHP code for the login, querying the system to make sure the user can log in. So here's the information that the employee gives to log in. And then the system first checks that the business the user is trying to log in for exists. Then they check to see that the user's account exists. And finally, the system checks to see if the account has been approved or not. So now we're going to show a simple user login, and this is going to be an account that I've already created. It will be an employee with an approved account. So their business name, they are registered under the first demo business. Their employee ID is 1 because they are the manager, and their password is also 1. So now we're going to log in, and it takes them straight to the main page. The home screen is going to be displaying a lot of important information for the employee to glance at. So without going in further to the app, they can immediately see things like that it is their account. It will show their name, the current date. It'll show if they have any unread messages. It'll show their next shift information as well as their next time away information. So over here on the right, we are going to have the file that queries the database for all of this information. So up here, it will start with the user's name based off of the user ID that is given during login. And then it will check for unread messages here from all chats that the user is a part of. It will then go in and find the next upcoming shift and display information about that shift. And then down here, we can see that it goes and finds all of their time away requests, and it finds the next approved time away request in the system. So this is a view of the homepage. So again, it shows the current date. It shows the person's name. They have 0 unread messages waiting for them. Shows information about their next shift, when it happens, and then it shows their next approved time away. And also from the homepage, you can access the navigation screen, which will take you to all of their activities, which we'll be talking about next. The first activity we'll talk about is the shifts activity. And this basically is going to display all the upcoming shifts. It will show whether the user has already offered a shift to trade to other employees. And it will also give them the option to trade that shift with other employees. So this top file right here is going to show the file that initializes the information for all the shifts that are upcoming for an employee. It will take the user ID, which is passed from the home page, and it will select all of their shifts, and it will show the ones that have not yet come to pass. And then this file down here is going to allow the user to offer a shift up to trade. So when they've selected the shift to trade and they've confirmed they would like to trade it, it changes the variable open to trade in the system to true. Looking back at the emulator, we can access shifts from the home page. So we select the navigation menu and go down to shifts here. So what this shows here is this user has a shift upcoming Wednesday, May 19th from 8 to 3. They also have another shift Thursday, May 27th, 8 to 3, but they have offered this shift for trade and it has not yet been taken by another employee. So what we can do here, let's say that our employee here cannot make their shift. So we're going to offer it to trade for somebody else. So it's going to verify, would you like to offer the shift to trade? It cannot be undone. Let's say they're thinking about it, and then they come back and they select yes. So now we see that both of our shifts upcoming have been offered for trade. The next activity is very closely related to shifts. It's going to be shift trade. So the shift trade will show all upcoming available shifts that are open for trade that a user can take. And it will only show the shifts that do not already overlap with the shifts that the user has. So by selecting take on a shift, an employee can take a shift and it will add it to the employee's upcoming shifts. Up top here, we have the PHP file that will initialize this page. It retrieves all the shifts that are open to trade and are not open to trade from our user. And then it will sort them and give all the information about them. And even tell the user who is offering the shift for trade. This file down here is going to accept the trade for the user. So it will update the shifts to set the shift user ID to our user's ID so that the shift becomes the user's, and it takes it away from being open to trade and adds it to upcoming shifts for our user. Again, starting at the home screen, we can access shift trade by going to the nav menu and selecting shift trade. We can see here that the only available shifts to accept from other employees is one from Jackson, and it is on the 10th from 8 to noon. And we're going to go ahead and say that we can make this shift. So we will take it here. And because we have now taken it, it is no longer up for shift trade. So there are no more shift trades available. So we're going to go ahead and go back into our shifts and see here is the shift that we accepted. Our next activity is time away. And this displays all the requests for time off work for a single employee. On this page, the user can look at a single time away request that they've already submitted to see its approval status, and they can also submit a new time away request. Okay. So this code up here is actually going to be for submitting a request. It checks first if it overlaps with any of the requests that the user has already submitted, and then when it knows that there is no overlap, it goes ahead and inserts the time away request for approval. Down here, the shift is going to initialize the time away screen and is going to collect information of all the time away requests that the user has submitted and will display their dates as well as the approval status. From the home page, to get to time away, we select the navigation menu and then select time away. So this shows all the upcoming requests for time away. And we can see we already have one request that has not been approved, and this is from May 26th to May 29th. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. This is again the request information. We can go ahead and go back to time away, which we'll do. But let's say we don't need this time away anymore, which is good because it's not approved anyway. We'll go ahead and delete that request. And it is no longer showing. We no longer have any requests. Let's say we did actually need a different request. So we will go ahead and request time away from the 19th to, let's say, the 20th. And we'll submit that request. Our request has been successfully submitted. And since we just submitted it, it is again not approved. Let's say I forgot I submitted this and I'm not looking. Let me try and resubmit it. Let's say I'll go from the 18th to the 20th. and I'll try and submit this. However, the system lets me know that I already have a request overlapping with this one, so I cannot submit it. And there is, again, that request. Earnings is going to be a very basic activity for the employee. It simply looks back at every week as a pay period and calculates the earnings for that week based on how many shifts the user had during that week. So this code here is going to initialize that screen. It first of all will set the current pay period, and then it will look through each shift that applies to that pay period and add it to the pay period summary. If the shift is not in the pay period, then it will adjust the pay period and begin looking at shifts again until there are no more shifts to calculate the earnings for. To get to earnings, again from the home page or any other page, we can access the navigation menu and select earnings. And we can see here that from April 30th to May 7th, I had 2 shifts, worked 10.5 hours, and made $84. And then from the period of the 26th to the 2nd, farther back, I had 1 shift for 4 hours, and I made $32. And earnings is just a way for an employee kind of to keep an eye on how much they're making, so they should know how much to expect. The messages activity will take the user to a list of chats that they are a part of. From here, the user can select the view button so that they can view a chat and send messages in that chat. They can also select the new chat feature that allows them to create a new chat. However, when creating a new chat, if they select a group of people that are already in a chat together with them, then it will simply take them to that chat instead of creating a duplicate chat. So this code up here is going to be a small snippet of the code that creates the new chat. The section here will be checking each chat to see if the user is already in a chat with them. So first it checks if the chat has the right amount of people in it, and for each participant in the chat, it checks to see if it is a participant that we're looking for to add to a new chat. So if all the users that we're looking for are already in this chat, including the user, then we already have this chat, it already exists. This code down here is going to be a snippet that gets the unread count for each chat. So it's going to get all the messages from chat. It will check if the user has a value inside of their last message read column. And if the user does not have a last message read for this specific chat, then that means they have not read any messages, which means all of the messages are unread. Otherwise, it searches for the message that they last read and counts how many messages have been sent since then, and that is the unread message count. So we'll go straight from the earnings activity to our messages. And we can see here we are already in one chat with David, our coworker. But for a second, we're going to look at creating a new chat. So these are our coworkers that we can message. So we can message several in a group chat. But we're going to go back and take a look at the message that David sent us. And he is asking, hey, can you take my shift? And we are going to reply, no. Yep, just no. So we'll go ahead and send that, and hopefully he can find someone to take his shift. So settings is going to be another very basic activity. The only thing that can be done here is logging out and viewing the frequently asked questions document. So over here we have a snippet of the recycler adapter for settings, and that is just going to show or inside the fact document, when we take the questions from the document on the server that has all the fact questions, it will show them as a question text view and answer text view. And when you click on the question text view, it will drop down to show the answer. And that's just showing how that operates right here. So now we're going to go look at the settings features. And we can log out here, but we're going to go ahead and view the frequently asked questions document, and this pulls from a document on the server, so that can be changed. So we have our 2 questions here that we have answers to. We want to know how to log out. It's telling us to press the log out button. We can also, it tells us how to log in. So we're going to close the FAQ and we're going to log out. So this is going to be the majority of what has been implemented so far. Obviously, there are several management functions that have not been added yet, as well as the graphical user interface. I found that a lot of the time that I set aside for development ended up being taken by time to learn about the software and learn skill sets about how to use the software. One of my major mistakes when scheduling this project was that I did not set aside much time for learning about the software that I would be using to build the app, because I assumed that I would be picking up skills as I went, when this was not the case, and I ended up taking up a lot of development time that I could have been planned otherwise. In regards to the content of the project, when I was designing it, I had made plans for the software to only be a mobile application, which is part of what made it unique from several other management tools on the market right now. However, after developing the project, I found that while it would be good to have a mobile interface that would be the core of the software, it would also be beneficial to have a desktop application that would help manage some of the database information and some of the application. Overall, I learned a lot this semester while building this project. I'd never worked with PHP before. I'd only had a little experience with XML layout files, but now I'm very confident that I can perform these things in the workplace. I'm glad that I've become familiar with mobile development because it was something that I had never worked with before. And I do see myself pursuing projects with mobile development after graduation. So again, thank you for watching and have a nice day.